If you have an adventurous spirit and you really are organized and driven, you could totally be successful at this. That literally is the bread and butter of getting into the business, and then vetted homes is everything else you need. If you're just inquiring it, if your brain is just thinking, can I do this? And you're starting to question it, go for it. There's at no point, like zero point where I've ever said, I should never have done this. This was a bad idea. Never. I've never said that. Even though I looked at like shelling out thousands of dollars, I was like, wait a minute, that's thousands of dollars. I'm like, it's okay. I know it's going to come back, and it has. And it will continue to come back, and it will continue to work because the plan works. The methodology, every bit of detail that they give you, I'm going to tell you as an experienced person going through the same emotions that people are thinking about. Take a deep breath, say a prayer, and just do it.
Okay, welcome in everybody to another Vetted Homes YouTube episode. We are so excited to be joined today by Miss Sami Coe. She is a wife, she is a mother, she is a teacher, and she's also a Vetted Homes community member, crushing it in the IMTR space. Her and her husband Toby have, I forgot how many IMTRs. She's gonna tell you how many IMTRs she has and where they are and how she operates them. But yeah, we're super excited to have her on to learn from her and learn about her. So welcome, Sami.
Welcome, Sam.
All right. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. I am actually very grateful to you guys for getting me involved in this because I would just go to my job as I teach science and deal with the crazy, literally the crazy that goes on in high school these days. Every day I'm always baffled by something new and thinking, oh, I've got this, I'm in like my 20th year and things are going to be smooth. The next thing I'm like, really? That kid just ran out of my classroom. I have no idea. Okay. And so you've really kind of like opened up a new world of ways to live after I retire, or the fact that I'm going to retire earlier because I don't want to deal with some of the things that are going on in education sometimes. And now I don't have to, which is really awesome.
That's
so
go.
bad.
Yeah, so maybe
grateful to you guys.
Well, we're thankful to have you too. You're welcome. We're all thankful for sure. But yeah, maybe touch on, for the people, tell us what you do, where you do it, and how long have you been doing it?
As far as the IMTRs go, or just in general?
Your normal W-2 job.
Okay. So I'm here in Santa Clarita, and I teach at West Ranch High School. And I've been doing that for almost 20 years. And I am also a coach. You'll see me as the cheer coach at West Ranch. We're actually really good. So check us out. Daily dose of WR cheer. That's my plug in for my other job. I have 3 kids. They are amazing for the most part. No, I'm just kidding. I absolutely love my children. I have a son who's older and in the Navy, and then I have a daughter who is at Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh, Bradford. And then last, I have a little guy, and his name is Jacob, and he is at Rancho Pico. So he's a little young guy, but keeps me definitely busy. We're heavily involved in soccer because my daughter plays soccer for the college. And then my little guy is into baseball. My husband has been working in law enforcement for about the same amount of years that I've been teaching, and he's just constantly busy all the time. Hence why he's not here. He's just here in spirit, right? Because he got called into work and had to go, and that's just kind of what the job is. I love teaching, but sometimes we got to change things in life a little bit, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And for those that don't know, Santa Clarita is in Southern California. For the rest of the people in the nation, they're like, where's Santa Clarita? Which is very interesting. And maybe touch on that. You've been in education for, you said, almost 20 years. What motivated you to take that path, that career path?
I literally fell into it. It was not on my radar ever to be a teacher. I went to school to study biology and zoology. And after I graduated, I wasn't sure what kind of job I was going to do. One of my neighbors was asking me to come and work for her. And I was like, sure, why not? It was in the business of finance. And so I was working, buying and selling stocks and bonds. And it was really early in the morning, and it's just definitely not me. I'm not an early riser unless I'm forced to be. But uh, I started to do that job, and I noticed that every time I would go to the water cooler, right, talk to other people in the break room, I was still talking about science. And so I decided that I would steer away from the job I was currently in. And the Hart District had said, hey, we need a science teacher. And my mom was like, my daughter has a degree in biology. Why don't you ask her if she'd like to become a substitute teacher and do that? And so I started to sub while I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And they needed a long-term sub, which is a person who comes in for weeks to months at a time in order to cover for a teacher who maybe's been injured or sick or ill or has some personal leave that they need to take. And this was in the field of marine biology and biology, which I have a background on. And at that point, I started teaching, and I was there for 6 months. And then at that point, at the end of 6 months, I was like, I kind of like this. Every day's different. Every class period's different. Every child is different. Even though you teach the same material, you never know what somebody's going to say and essentially how it is that the class period's going to run or flow. So, and Kellie, I know you know that as a former teacher yourself. Kids say the darndest things.
Sure do.
So after that, I ended up saying I was going to pursue my career in teaching, and I went ahead and got my credentials, and I worked for another year on an emergency credential at Hart High School. And that led me to my master's degree. So I was recruited to go over to West Ranch High School to teach their marine biology course. And I've been there ever since. And I do love the school. I love my coworkers. They're amazing and completely supportive. And so I, of course, will be sad to leave one day, but we all are ready to take a break and, move on sometimes.
For sure. No, that's amazing. So how would you say, or maybe a better way to ask it is, what has changed since the first day you started teaching until present day? What are some of the biggest changes that you've experienced in being a high school teacher?
In all honesty, the parents and the kids have changed. The curriculum's still the same. The district tries to tell you what to teach, and so you try and stay within the parameters because it's dictated by the state. But the things that have changed are the parents and the kids. And it changed a little bit before COVID, but it's changed a lot after COVID. There's sometimes a lack of discipline, whether it be in the home or just in general. And so kids feel that they can talk to you however they think is okay to talk to you. There's sometimes a lack of respect. Now, in my classroom, I don't stand for that. I do not allow kids to talk down to me, and I am not that kind of teacher. So I don't see it as much. And if a kid does talk down to me, I definitely let them know that that's not their place and that's not appropriate. And sometimes you get support from the parents and sometimes you don't. And sometimes the parents think that it's okay that their child cheated and that there shouldn't be a repercussion, or that my child should essentially have a million times to do a test over and over and over again, yet they didn't study for the first time for the test. And it's one of those things where had I had talked to a teacher in the way that some kids talk to teachers, that I would have had a consequence at home that would have reminded me not to act that way. And I see it more and more on the news with kids just making bad choices and teachers getting frustrated and fed up with it. There was a teacher who spoke at the Saugus board meeting, and she expressed her concerns about that. And it'll be interesting to see how it kind of progresses forward because it's all over TikTok. So, um, but that kind of frustration, I can deal with it, but it's not something I want to deal with as I continue to get older and older and older. I couldn't imagine being some of our older generation teachers, and the kid decides that they're going to mouth off to them in a disrespectful way, or just have no respect whatsoever for the teacher. The parent be okay with it and support it. And as you get older, you have less tolerance for certain things. And I would probably not be able to handle that very well. So I'm going to retire maybe a little bit early and know that there's a line that I'm going to plateau at, and be happy for the remainder portion of my life.
You're amazing. Yeah. God bless our teachers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough job for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've mentioned retirement a couple times. What was the original plan? How long were you intending on going when you maybe
Well,
first?
in teachers, it's a magic number and year. Like, it kind of works together. And with that being said, that's like 62, 63. And to me, that just seems really old to deal with some kids that continue to, make bad choices regularly with no consequences. So I was going to retire when my husband was going to retire. I just figured I'll just go with him. Even though he says some to me sometimes, he's like, no, you keep working. I'll take summers off. And I'm like, oh, that's not what I was thinking. I was thinking we could like take the years off together. So he gets to technically retire before me because in law enforcement, they have a different cap than teachers do, which I get it. The physicality of the job is different. And the mental like stress for the job is also different. And with that being said, he is going to retire like in about 7 years, 8 years or so, that give or take. But what that does is it causes a big chunk in my retirement. Like, if I don't hit the magic number, I get like pennies on the dollar. Very, very little amount of money comes in for teachers who essentially retire early. And so with that being said, I need a supplemental income. I need something else. I'm not going to be a cheer coach when I'm 60 years old. That I cannot catch falling girls at 60. I mean, maybe I can. I don't know. That would be amazing. I'd be in great shape. But it just doesn't sound like it's going to be the goal I have in life. So with that being said, I need something else, right? I need something that's going to sustain me a little bit longer after I retire at the monetary level either I'm at now or more. I mean, that would be amazing. More would be great. I'm blessed now and I don't need to be greedy, but more does definitely help. Plus, I have a kid in college, and I did tell you that. So that gets expensive. College is expensive.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah. So what I want to hear, just kind of sharing with the people, what got you kind of piqued your interest into MTRs or insurance MTRs really specifically, but just real estate in general. What's kind of your background with that or thoughts on real estate?
Well, for me, real estate is a love-hate relationship for me. We live in a home that I love, in a neighborhood that I love, with neighbors that are amazing. Most of them. We do have one crazy one, but I think that's notorious for all streets. So anyway, we wanted to move because we wanted a bigger house. And we really wanted actually just some land. And so we had gone through many homes. We put offers on many homes. We accepted offers and we lost offers. And it just was kind of like, it was a very crazy time. So right before COVID, we had put an offer on in a house that we're like, hey, this is it. This is going to be the one that we want. We're not doing this anymore. It had the location that, really satisfied Toby, which was fine for me. And it had the size of the land that we were hoping to be able to grow on. And we lost out. We lost out to about $10,000 difference in offer price, but you don't get to know that. And so as we were battling back and forth, that was like really devastating for me because I was like, hoping and going, okay, this house, okay, no, this house, and this house. And I was like, no, no more. This is it. If it doesn't happen, we're putting a pool in. And so it didn't happen. And at that point, I just realized I'm trying to chase a dream that I don't think God wants me to chase. If I was supposed to get the houses, it would have happened. And there's some reason, I don't know what, but greater being up there made the decision for me, which is absolutely fine because I put that in his hands all the time. And we ended up staying in the home that we're in. And so that's kind of like my background with real estate. I also manage a property my parents have, and it's not too far from me. And with that, there's kind of a lot to do. You have to manage the property. You have to make sure the taxes and bills are all paid, all of that kind of stuff. And I started to work in that sense because my parents are older and they needed more help. And that became my role in our family. And my other sister has a role to help take care of my parents who are elder. And, my younger sister lives outside of the state and she has a different role, which we've all like worked well together to work as a family in a family union. So at this point, I had like just rough goes with it. And then now I'm starting to property manage. And then I hear Kellie's story and I'm hearing it from other people. And I'm like, okay, this sounds interesting. Like, I could maybe do this. I'm like, how much effort is it? Or what do I have to put into it? Or what do I have to do? Like, I am a teacher, and I think this is a very common thing for all teachers is we just love to learn. I love to learn new things. And so when Kellie's like, okay, this is what we're offering. And I'm like, listen, I sat down with Toby and I said, I want to do this. And I like have a bucket list of a million things long, like write a song, write a book, and do these things. And I don't care if anybody buys my book, or I've already written a song. I've already check mark on that one. It's done. It's played, it's a course. And so I just kind of like love these little things like skydiving, check mark, did that. Travel the world. Those are like, we have a map in our house up on the wall, and there's two. There's one of the United States and there's one of literally the world. And the United States is one that we scratch off every single state that we've been to with kids. So that's their map. They get to look at it and go, oh yeah, I remember that trip. And I know they're going to look back and enjoy it, even though during the trip sometimes they're like, going to the state capitol again. But the trips are things that I think that they really look forward to and they're definitely going to remember. And then our world map is one where Toby and I have traveled around the world. I was blessed because I had the opportunity to travel the world when I was younger, and I did study abroad programs. So I've done quite a bit of that, but he hasn't been able to do that. So I don't put anything up on the world travel map that he hasn't been able to do, so that it kind of gives us goals. And even though like he's like, oh, well, if we went to Germany, yeah, I've already been, but for him, it's exciting for me to take him because I'm like, oh yes, we went here and this was great. We should go back and do this. So that's our goal. Our goal for retirement is to be able to do the traveling. And as I'm listening to Kellie's story and this financial freedom that she's had, and I'm watching the like kind of the video clips that you guys made, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, if I didn't know her, like if I didn't know her personally, I totally think that this was like Ponzi scheme or like a scam for sure. And I know that sounds really funny because people ask me all the time, like, hey, I heard you're doing this thing. And I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's great. Like I love putting the houses together. I love buying like the material and then like watching it all like come together. That's like my first favorite part about the job. My second part is when I help people, because that is like, it's really gratifying when they're telling you how grateful they are for the opportunity to stay in this house. We'll get to that later. But with the first portion of this, getting to this pathway, I'm just listening to Kellie. And I said like, okay, listen, Tobe, I want to do this. What do you think? And he's like, you can't do it. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you can't do it? And he said, you don't have enough time in your day. You have to give something up. And that's hard for me to do. Like, it really is hard for me to tell somebody no, like, oh, I don't want to do that, or I can't do that. Because I feel like I can do it all. I do have a breaking point, but so I said okay, and my swap off is cheer. So as I continue to grow in the business, I will continue to take a step back in my role with West Ranch Cheer. Not everybody knows that, so hello world.
Now they do.
And I'm sure that they would recognize that at some point too. You get to a point where you can't do it anymore, because I'm on like year 6, so we're doing fine. But I decided, okay, this is what I'm interested in. Toby said, this is what I, have to give up because there's just not enough time in my personal day. And I totally agree with him. It's not like he's telling me, no, you can't do this because he's a dictating husband. That's by no means whatsoever that happens in our house. We work together as a unit, which is really good. But I said, okay, I'm going to pray about this. And I got down on my hands and knees, literally on my hands and knees. And I prayed out loud. And I said, God, if I'm supposed to do this, I really need for you to guide me in it. And I had nothing to do with it after that. Literally, the ball rolled on its own. And I was like, oh, we're doing this. Okay. Like, I can't even remember the moment when I woke up and was like, okay, I paid for the course and it's done. It just all happened so very quickly. And it's so crazy because, like I said, I like to learn. I got on that course that night, and like I told Kellie, I did it like all in one night. I'm like, oh, I'm doing this, all of it. Nope, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to take my notes. I have my notebook all set up. My pencil's just flying across the page. And at the very end, I was like, I could do this. This is not bad. I have a lot of questions, but I can still do this. So that was really how it started. It was watching Kellie and the success. Sorry, Jason, but I watched Kellie and I watched her success and the love that she had for what she was doing. And she seemed so happy and so relaxed. And that's awesome. Like, that's something that I want, to be happy and relaxed. And that makes the drive for completing the course and doing everything so much easier, because I know like the end result is essentially going to be what she's expressing to everybody else, is this great lifestyle that she's currently living. And the infomercial that you see is real. It is real. It is. And it's a business where you're not in the red for very long. Yeah, you're going to be in the red because you got to get started, and every business has to get started. But the reality is that it happens a lot faster than most businesses. And I know, Kellie, we talked about that just recently, where all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, I'm fine. Nope, there's money in the bank. Okay, now what am I going to do with it? All right, let's do our next one. Let's go here. Let's go there. So that's how we got into this. And it's funny because I've talked to some of Kellie's relatives, and they're like, oh yeah, well, now would clearly be the time to get in, because you get in at the beginning and you get yourself established. And once you're established, then you build up the clientele. Excuse me. You build up the clientele and you aren't running in the rat race later on in life. And I was like, makes a lot of sense. So that came from some of your very smart relatives, by the way.
I love it.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is pray and listen to Kellie.
No.
Yeah. Check. We're good.
That sounds just that sounds what
That's probably what you do. You're like, I listen to Kellie and then I pray about it, and God reminds me to listen to Kellie.
Exactly.
Not even.
You're onto it, Sammy.
No way.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's great.
So you mentioned your IMTRs, or your properties. Can you tell us about maybe just your first one, and then after that, you're scaling like crazy. We want to hear all of it, but maybe start with your first one.
Okay, so with my first one, I was following the, formula that you guys have set forth in the videos, right? So I was looking for things that were important, like the good school districts, the populated areas, those kinds of things. I won't give it all away because got to watch the course, but So I was looking in areas that I thought were going to be good. And the first area I started looking in was in like the Arcadia area, and the Pomona kind of region. So from Pasadena kind of out to Pomona. I'm familiar with the area. I went to Cal Poly, so it made it easy for me to kind of navigate. It's close, so I had like the ability to go and check some stuff out. And I started to look at the homes in those areas. I narrowed down my searches, what my specifics were going to be, and I started visiting homes. And as I visited the first home, this poor lady had this beautiful home, or like what could have been a beautiful home, but she let the renters just live in it, didn't take care of it. And now the renters have moved out and she's kind of fixing it so that the next people can move in. And as I was going through with her, my father is or was a contractor. And so our house was always under construction. But you learn some things along the way. Also, I've learned some stuff along the way with the house that we have that I'm managing for my parents and taking care of it. And there were a lot of building code violations, things that I would never have spent money on to fix for a renter coming in, where you could have used the money for a better aesthetic look. And I'm not sure what she was thinking. So I was very brutally honest with her. I asked her first, like, do you want me to be honest about what I'm looking at and what I think that you should do? And she said yes. And so I told her, and she's like, okay. And I said, I'm not going to be taking your home at this time. Unfortunately, it does not fall within the parameters, and the amount of work and what you're able to offer is not going to work out for me. And I said, but I do wish you the best of luck. And from there, I kind of like got a little taste of like, okay, I led the conversation with this person. I understand, for the most part, what I'm looking for and what I want. So then I had a second house that I wanted to see, and I liked it. And it was out kind of in the Duarte area. And I called the person and I said, I'm interested in your house. I gave them some background information, what I do. And he was kind of on the border of wanting to talk to me. And I said, okay, this is my information. Call me back. We talked a couple times and he just decided he wanted to just let somebody from his family just live in it. And I said, okay. I said, that's fine. I took some advice from Kellie and Jackie, which was great about the particular area. And it's not that it's a bad area, but there are some things that kind of go along with it. And I decided that I really love my best friend. And she tells me all the time how amazing her area is. And I go visit it all the time to go up to see her. And she lives in Roseville. And Roseville has a high rated school system. Like their school district is highly rated, that people move into this particular neighborhood for the reason that they want their kids to go to the elementary schools, junior highs, and high schools there. And so I was like, ding, ding, light bulb. Well, this is going to be my house then. And or this is going to be my neighborhood where I'm going to find my house. And that's what I did. I looked at all the houses and I marked them accordingly. And then I made one phone call, and it took one. That's it. I called the person and I said, this is what I want to do with your home. I've never seen your house before in person, but I'm looking at it and I know it's going to work. And he was like, wait, what? And he didn't think I was totally crazy, which this comes full circle in just a little bit. He didn't think it was totally crazy because he told me he does what I'm doing at a corporate level. So he goes in and he guts corporate buildings and then resets them up and then re-rents them out. And I was like, oh, well, look at us. And he said, I'm moving for the year. And I'm like, well, I'm trying this, so a year sounds great. Let's go ahead and move forward. And he was on board. So I wrote up the lease agreement and I put information that's pertinent to subletting. And I started looking for furniture, which, like I said, God had a role in this. I did not get this ball rolling. It literally happened itself. I had a cousin who lived in Orange County who was moving to Texas and said, we're not taking our house with us. We're going to get rid of it. And I looked at him, I said, well, I want to buy your whole house. And they're like, everything? And I said, yep, I want everything. What's your price? And we negotiated a price. And I'm like, wait a minute. I called one person in Roseville, and I had my cousin moving from Orange County who said, take my entire house. There's no way I wasn't supposed to do this. So I went down to her house and I packed it all up in a U-Haul and drove it up to Roseville, California. And I furnished the home. I did my crazy furnishing in 48 hours. So, well, maybe, I guess it'll be a little bit more than 48 hours. We drove up on Friday morning. We unloaded it, and we were supposed to have helpers who then decided, and this is what I'm talking about, where people are maybe not being driven in the right direction to act a certain way. I said, hey, I'm willing to pay you X amount of money to help me unload a U-Haul van. And the person said, fine. And then they came back and they decided an hour later that they wanted more money. They didn't like what we negotiated. And I'm thinking, you are a college student who no longer is a college student because you dropped out, one. And two, you live with your grandmother. And three, you don't pay any bills for your grandmother because you also don't help her. And four, you don't have a job. So I'm not sure why you feel that you're entitled to negotiate more money on a deal that we've already set up. So I told him no. I said, you know what? I appreciate you calling me back and letting me know that you're not willing to work with me, and therefore we'll do it ourselves. And so it's me and my husband and a 3,000 square foot home's worth of furniture that we're going to unload in a U-Haul. And wow. Like I said, I'm driven. If I start something, I'm going to complete it, and I'm going to do it as quickly as I can, and I can't stop. And we drove in, and the floors were still a little wet, or the carpets were still a little wet because they were being cleaned, or they got cleaned that morning, but they had to postpone the cleaning in the morning because something had happened. So it took them longer. And so they weren't going to be dry until late evening. And my husband and I were like, yeah, no worries. We got this. So we unloaded all the furniture into the garage and things into the areas where there was hardwood or tile. Wow. And then from there, we're like, we're going to go to Home Depot. We're going to go to Lowe's. I'm on Facebook Marketplace. I'm calling people. I'm like, I'm coming at 1 o'clock, blah, blah, blah. And it just fell into place. So we got most of the stuff set up. We got our bed set up as well so that we had a place to sleep that night. And then the next morning on Saturday, we finished everything. And by chance, there happened to be some community garage sales, and we're driving around in a U-Haul, and people are like, you are serious about this? And I'm like, I am, but like really not U-Haul serious. I'm just looking for knickknacks right now. I just don't have another car to drive. So we went ahead and we were able to get the house furnished that Saturday evening. And on Sunday morning, we finalized the details, and then we caught our flight home. And we flew home that Sunday afternoon, and the cameraman showed up on Tuesday. And I have employed my best friend's daughter to help me. So I pay her to like go check on stuff or if anything needs to happen. And sure enough, like she's great at what she does. After we got it up and posted on our website and all the sites that it's supposed to be on, it started to get inquiries within right after the first week. We started to get inquiries, and Kellie was so great in helping me with this. She really gave me what I needed to be like, okay, you don't have to take everything. If this doesn't work, there's going to be something else, and we need these things. And that got that first thing going. And then the last week of June, after the first two kind of were still trying to settle in and figure out if they were going to utilize my house, I got a lead, and the lady called me, and I've had those people in that house since June 29th, and they won't leave until March. So that was like the first one. And I was like, oh, okay, I got this. I can do this. And then I started talking to people about what I was doing, and I was telling them, and then Toby was telling people what we were doing, and he was telling them like, hey, you rent a house or you buy a house. And with that being said, we got some other people saying, hey, I have a home. Would you like to take it? Well, in the meantime of the June home, which is the Roseville home, I had spoken to one other person in Canyon Country, and I was like, well, I'm going to try and get this home. So, but when we got that home, and literally I talked to the one person, I went to the house, I explained what I did, and they were like, okay, let's do this. And they told me, because they were subletting each room in that house, that they couldn't let me have it until the last sublease was completed, which wasn't until September 1st. And so I knew I had some time, which is why I jumped on the Roseville one. I was like, okay, I'm going to do Roseville. And from the Roseville one, the Canyon Country was like on the back burner, but it was going to happen. It was going to happen in, X amount of time. But during this time, I had to think about, how much money do I have in my bank account? Because I have to be able to cover my rent for the homes that I'm renting as the sublease. I have to just make sure that I'm covering those bases. And so doing the math and talking with Toby, I was like, hey, these are the things that we can do. And I feel like we're safe with this. And he's like, all right, if you think that it's okay and mathematically it's working out, then let's do it. So the June house happened, and I started to prepare for the house in Canyon Country. And it's funny because in the Roseville home, I never got to see it until I arrived. So what I did, because I'd never seen it, was I drew out a map, and then I planned out the bedrooms as I had the furniture available to them. And I didn't have a floor plan of the home. I literally figured it out by looking at the windows in the house and where they faced and the outside full design of it. And I was pretty right on when I got in, and I'm like, well, there should be a bedroom right here. I'm like, oh, all right. So it worked out great. But that's me in science, and we like to be meticulous in that aspect. And I draw things out, and I have spreadsheets like nobody's business, but which made the Canyon Country house easy to do. And we set up the Canyon Country house, and the Canyon Country house, I put it on Airbnb, and within less than 24 hours, somebody had said, hey, I want to rent out your home. And there's a little hiccup in this one, but it worked out fine. I wish the best to these people who didn't end up staying at our home, because it led to the clients that I currently have in now. They've been there since the beginning, and they just extended one more week. And he's like, I feel so bad. I'm like, no, I don't want to kick you out if you still need the home. So I just need you to understand that, kind of like each week, a little bit early, I'm going to ask you, don't feel rushed, but it's just me saying, hey, I'm going to plan for my maid to come and set everything up and clean the whole house and get the cleaning crew in there, which is awesome because my cleaning crew and my maid is my sister. She's like, I can use some extra money. And I'm like, well, you're amazing at cleaning, so let's work together. So she's definitely rocking that skill set. And so the Canyon Country home was supposed to be cleaned on Sunday of this week. And he's like, can I keep it till? And I'm like, you could keep it the entire year. But sure, that would be absolutely great. So that house was started. Well, during the process of all of these other things going on, the people who I purchased all the furniture from, who moved from Orange County to Texas, my cousins, I think they were waiting to see if it was going to be successful. I think they wanted some assurance to see, like, well, Sammy's talked about some stuff, and this is the thing that she's currently like kind of working with. And she's obviously jumping full steam ahead. Let's see how good it goes for her. And so I was telling them, the story that I went through with you guys. And they're like, well, would you ever want to buy a home with us and do it with us? And I was like, funny that you say that, because yeah, we went to Texas in 2021, I think it was, in the wintertime. And we toured parts of it because we were looking for just like another home at some point when we retire. Where do we want to go? So we kind of are scouring the United States to find our best state possible. And it doesn't have to be one state. It could be multiple. I'm okay with moving throughout the year. Diversity is the spice of life. So we started in Frisco area, and we went down through Dallas, Fort Worth, and we went down to San Antonio. Actually went through Austin down to San Antonio, and then all the way over through Houston into New Orleans. And so we did this long little stint, which was a lot of fun, but we looked at a lot of houses along the way. So they're like, well, we're moving to Keller. And I was like, great. And I'm like, oh, Keller's this like area. I'm like, okay, it's a nice area. And then we talked to them more, we visited them. And at that point, they're like, well, if you want to do it, we want to do it. And we're like, okay, let's do it. So I did my portion of it, which was find the area, get the reasons why, get the background to it, narrow it down. Then she, my cousin Ashley, did the footwork there. She got the realtor, she got the mortgage company that we were going to use, and they showed me some houses, and I looked at them, and then I had one that I liked because aesthetically it looked really nice. And then I sent it on to Kellie and Jackie, and I'm like, what do you think? And they had said, yes, like, this one's cute. This is the one I would go for. And that's the house we ended up buying. And it worked out great because one of them just had such a large backyard that needed so much maintenance that in Texas, I could see that being kind of a pain in the butt for, being a business owner and having to man that. And the cost of that would be not worth it for us. So anyway, we purchased the home, and there were some hiccups along the way with that. And Ashley was kind of dealing with them, which was fine. And during that time, they're like, well, if it doesn't close on this day, I'm like, listen, if it's supposed to happen, God will make it happen. If it's not supposed to happen, then it won't. And we'll move on and we'll find something different. So just don't worry about it. So again, prayed about that. Hey, if it's supposed to happen, let's just make this happen. And it did. So our house was ready, and we went out there on a Friday, and in we flew out there Friday. Oh no, I'm just kidding. We didn't fly out there Friday. We flew out there Saturday morning at 5 a.m. We flew out there 5 a.m. on Saturday morning, and we furnished the house starting Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday we flew home. And they were part of that crazy that happens. And we went in, and there were some things that we did. We started to fix the floors, which was not fixing the floors. And then we had to fix the non-fix, which added to the hiccup of the time while we were there. But we learned what was best on that, and we got the house all set up, ready to go. They had a camera person come out and take pictures, probably about a week within the point of it being furnished. We had to wait for a mattress to come in for the king size bed, which was delivered to the house, which is nice. Comes in a box, made it easy. We did Facebook Marketplace. She would send me pictures, and I already have a design in my mind of what I'm looking for in that room. And then I'd be like, yeah, go ahead and get that carpet or rug, or yeah, go pick those things up. And we have a spreadsheet that we share, and we go through and itemize all of it. So it works out really good. And then I posted it, and nothing happened. And I'm like, it's okay. It took, essentially 3 to 4 weeks. I mean, it could be a couple months before somebody gets in. We don't know. And I said, but we're banking on the school district here. And there's massive growth going in, and there's a new Starbucks going in right next to our house in Argyle. And I'm like, that's going to be awesome. And we're literally straight down the street from the high school. We have this really nice private school that is right next to us. So it makes it even better because it builds up the community because the schools are good. And this family contacted me on one of the platforms and said, hey, I'm interested in your house. Can you verify it's in the Argyle School District? And I'm like, that's what our bread and butter was, is that all these people who are building homes within this area, their homes aren't ready in time. And it's very common in construction for them to be told, oh, March, and then July comes around and it's ready.
2 more weeks. 2 more
yeah,
weeks.
Right. So in turn, what ends up happening is they need to move into the school district because school is going to start, and they have to have proof that they are residents there. So I verified to them that one, our house was available, and two, it was right in the school district that they needed. And so that rolled the ball along, and now it's rented out for 3 months. And actually, since it got rented, 2 other people have been like, "Hey, can I rent your house?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, I can in March. Come back in March."
Right.
Awesome.
No, that's awesome. I want to touch really quick just on a point of how, this isn't like, we obviously teach on housing insurance families because that's our bread and butter. Those are like our favorite tenants, but we do teach how to platform all over the place. And so you have opportunities to house all sorts of different kinds of renters. So I'm glad that one of yours was that, because sometimes people think it's like only insurance that we do. And yes, that's the majority of what we do. And personally, that our own homes, we just wait for those because we love those families, but we're open. And I know a lot of our community members are also open to housing, all sorts of people. So
Yeah,
that's really cool.
You got to cover your vacancy for sure. So
Yeah.
what I'm hearing, Sami, you have one in Northern California, one in Southern California, one in Texas.
Yes.
And that's it for now?
Well, for right now, so the one in Northern California is an insurance claim. Those people had damage to their home. The one in Canyon Country is a remodel where the husband was like, "My wife just gutted the house and I need a place to live." And so that's that one. And then the one in Texas is hey, we're building a home. It's not ready. We need a place to live. So it's kind of like they all deal with construction.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing.
True.
So do you mind sharing some of the margins on those?
No, I don't at all. When it comes to like the Roseville home, the amount that the insurance is is paying is $9,150 per month. And I'm shelling out about $4,500 a month to just cover the home and the utilities that go along with it. So there's a pretty good margin on that one. And I have to tell you that location determines on what you're going to get. Like my Canyon Country home is profiting a little bit more because it's in a gated community. It has a pool and a gym that goes along with it. But I do look for that single story model because it does definitely provide a lot more opportunities for people to live in it. And when something goes wrong, for example, on the Canyon Country home, the gardening was becoming an issue, and that's covered by the person I rent the home from. But aesthetically, it's not looking very pretty. And so excuse me, I went ahead and I paid for a new gardener to come, and I cleaned the whole place out and I made it look a lot nicer than it currently is. And so the new gardener is doing great. And then I told the person I'm renting it from, I'm like, "Listen, I'm paying the gardener this amount of money. This is what you were paying your gardener. How about I just pay the difference and we move forward?" And he's like, "Absolutely." Because they don't ever want to move back into that house. They just want me to pay the house off for them. And I'm very grateful for that because that means I'm going to have that for a very long time.
That's
amazing.
So great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The Argyle house is a little bit less margins. So it's rented out for about $7,500 and our bills are about $4,000. So a little bit less, but it really just depends on the location, right?
Well, and there's a difference there between California and Texas for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you own it, which is so exciting. That's
I do.
Really
Yeah, because the value of the house is going to go up. So if I ever just didn't want to do that anymore and that house is done, I just take the profit that we make from the house itself. So that works out really well. Yeah.
awesome.
Well done, you guys.
And then we have a nice storage that's full of furniture for our next home, which is one that fell into our lap where the person's like, "I have a home. It's in Cibolo." And I'm like, "Where's Cibolo? I have no idea where Cibolo is." And it's San Antonio. So our next home is in San Antonio. And funny enough, we literally have to drive out there for another reason. And I'm like, well, that means I can collect furniture here and I can drive it out there. I don't want to drive to Texas, but I have to drive to Texas. So I might as well benefit from that. So the people who are renting that home out to us are ones that came to us, and they said to my husband, hey, I have a home. Can you do this with our home? And I said, well, let me look at it, and let me look at the area. And the area's up and coming. And there's something else about this home, is that it's near a military base. And because of that, it's where flight school happens. So we're hoping to get some military contracts from this, like a little bit of both of that going on. And I know, Kellie, you guys talk about this, like we just mentioned the fact that it's not just construction or, insurance, midterm rentals, but maybe there's a whole other sector that we can open the door to for our personal business, which of course is set by you guys.
Awesome. So good.
I love it.
I'm inspired by your scaling.
Yes.
It's so awesome. You guys both work like full-time W-2 jobs, and you're scaling like crazy, which is so awesome to see. Go ahead.
No, you were. Go for it.
What would you say to somebody who is in your position, right? So they have a 9-to-5, they have a W-2 job, and they're just thinking about, dipping their toe in IMTR. But they're a little apprehensive, or maybe they're like, oh, this sounds way too good to be true. What would you say to that person?
I would say I've been in your boat. I know what you're thinking. And I would say that it's an adventure. And if you have an adventurous spirit and you really are organized and driven, you could totally be successful at this. That literally is, the bread and butter of getting into the business. And then Kellie and Jason and Jackie's vetted homes, their business there is everything else you need. So the drive, the spirit, if you're just inquiring it, if your brain is just thinking, can I do this? And you're starting to question it, go for it. Because there's at no point, like zero point where I've ever said, I should never have done this. This was a bad idea. Never. I've never said that. Even though I looked at like shelling out thousands of dollars, I was like, wait a minute, this is thousands of dollars. I'm like, it's okay. I know it's going to come back. And it has. And it will continue to come back. And it will continue to work because the plan works. The methodology, every bit of detail that they give you. I know that they have the new course, and it's out, and it's all the details that you need. So I'm going to tell you, as an experienced person going through the same emotions that people are thinking about, take a deep breath, say a prayer, and just do it, because it will be like, it'll be what you want. It'll be what you need. I love it. I literally love it. I haven't even done the Cibolo house yet. And I've already reached out to Colorado because I have boots on the ground there. And I'm like, I'm going to do a home in Colorado next. And these are my areas. And I've already started to map it out. And Toby, of course, looks at me and he's like, she's crazy. She's crazy. And I am. And it's okay. But it's fun crazy. It's like exciting. And he's like, I'm just the muscles and she just does everything else. She points and the bed goes there. And then she says, hey, can you build this? And I'll look at something and be like, these people left this, but I feel like if you went and got me this colored paint and we just sprayed it really quickly, it'd look amazing. Oh, we've done that. We have transformed things that have just been left behind. Kellie, you guys were doing a house and you're like, look at what we found on the side of the road. I'm like, oh my God, that's perfect. Just like I said, take a deep breath and jump in. Don't hesitate.
How long did it take you to get return on your investment?
Each house is different because the value of each house is different.
What I mean is, for the course specifically, how long did it take to get return on your investment for the thousands of dollars you dished out to take the course?
To be honest with you, it got filtered into the first house.
Yeah.
Right? So the cost of the first house for me to put it together was about $6,000 to furnish the home from top to bottom. But this is like with high-end stuff, because of course I was lucky on that one and God set that all up for me. Top to bottom, literally everything you can think of, just had it. But with the filtering in or, counting in the cost of the course as well, maybe just a couple months. Just a couple months. Because the thing is when you sublease a home, you have to pay first and last month's rent and a security deposit. So that's where the heavy monetary costs come in. So when I look at it and I'm like, okay, I gave them a first month's rent. I know I'm not going to make any money in the first month because I'm literally just putting it together. And my income won't come in until later, which is normal for a business to begin that way anyway, to start upside down. But I'm already now in the black. So I started in the red in June, July. And then in August was where I had covered my basis, where I'd covered my startup funds and the rental of the home and all of the costs to put the furniture in. And so like August and then September, October, like that's really where I started to see my profit, which was really, I mean, quite amazing because we're talking about 3-4 months in and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I've made my money back and now I'm starting to have money come in. Which is why I continue to do the other houses because I have the money sitting in the bank. And I'm like, well, why would I have just that sitting there? What's it doing for me? Don't worry, I did use some to go on a vacation, but I am applying that to the new houses because I don't know why this is, and nobody's ever explained it to me, but 8 is the house number. I've talked to lots of people who are like Forbes top, rated in the magazines, just people who are in real estate. And it's so funny because they said, oh, you'll be financially stable if you have 8 homes. And I'm like, where did this number come from? And I'm like, I don't care where it came from. That's going to be my number. 8 is my number. So that literally is the goal I'm reaching for, is to have 8 homes. I did tell Toby that I wanted to have 8 homes within a couple of years. And he's like, how about we scale it back a little bit? But we're not even a year in and we're going on house number 4. So I don't feel like a couple of years is really that crazy of an idea.
For a year. That's what I'm hearing, Sami.
That's right. I want to be a teacher next year.
That's awesome. It's pretty remarkable that you're getting a return on your investment in 2 months. That's pretty unheard of with a lot of other houses you invest. So well done, you guys. It's so awesome. One of the questions I had, and this could be completely cheesy, but how would you say IMTR and your relationship with vetted homes has changed your life? And if it hasn't necessarily changed your life, maybe how's it changed your plans for the future?
Well, it changed my life because what I do daily is different. Like what I'm looking for, what I'm searching for. I have meetings on Mondays, that you go to and you get inspired. And if you don't make the meeting's always there available for you, which is one of those things where it's nice to have a cheerleader in your corner. Like, it's nice to have somebody to tell you, hey, you're doing great. How can I help you? And the vetted community is very much like that. Like Kellie checks in on me and makes sure I'm doing well. You don't have that. If I were to go start up a business, with a storefront and a brick and mortar, there's not somebody back there going, you can do this. How can I help you? There's can you pay your bill? Do you have everything ready to go? And here it's different. It's, how can I help you? Hey, you're doing great. Share your wins. And that to me is motivating. I have spoken to a couple other different vetted community members who on a private level, just in their, what they're going through. And I'm just encouraging them the way I feel like I've been encouraged. And so it's great to see what they're going through and watching them be successful. And I don't know if it's like my teacher spirit, to help and want to okay, you could do this now, or you should keep going. You got this. I'm your cheerleader. Cause Kellie has that same spirit. And she's my cheerleader. I look at her and go, okay. And then she's like, good job, Sam. Which literally keeps me going. So that weekly reassurance is there, which is great. And it's great because the community that we have now, the person I rent my home from in Roseville is now a vetted community member because they believed in what I was doing with their home. And I thought, holy cow, okay, look at how the ball is rolling in this direction. So I'm changing lives, which makes me feel good because I'm changing them in a way where I'm not giving them a Ponzi scheme. I'm not setting them up for failure, which is never my intention to do. On a distant scale, like in life in general, it's changed my path because Toby and I don't sit there and go, okay, what's your retirement? How much money are you going to make? Okay, are we going to have enough because we want to, and then we have our list of things we want to do? Are we going to be able to travel? Oh, is it only once? Can we only go somewhere one time? Are we going to be stuck here in California and we can't, leave California? And that's not the case anymore. Now we look at each other and go, okay, what state do we want to go to next? Okay, what if we went to this place here? And of course, this is part of my crazy. It's like just going along with it. And I think it takes a little bit more, like, it relieves that stress of, will we be able to support ourselves in a time in which we're on a fixed income? And even though, yes, we have like additional, supports that we put in place, we put those in place before we became vetted home, like community members and started this career. So now we're just building what we're hoping and we see as a future, kind of stability for our children, because they're going to be able to take our like homes that we put together, because we'll eventually buy homes and not just sublease homes. We already have one home, and then we'll work on the next and the next one as it progresses on. That then they each have homes that they can do this with, that then we go, okay, we've left them with some way to support themselves. And it just makes it a little bit easier for us to swallow.
So inspiring.
I love it.
Love that.
Yeah, you always encourage me and inspire me. When I hear what you're up to next, I'm like, Sam's doing it. I want to keep going too. So it's mutually, you're my cheerleader as well. So it's really been fun watching you guys. And yeah, and it's one of those things, like, I'm with you. You just can't help but share it because it's changed like your life and your daily, even your, like you were saying, your talks, like our feet to feet, we call them, like nights where we just hang out and talk, like no tech, no nothing. We just hang out. And it's fun to dream about, like, okay, where should we go next? What should we do? And if you slow down in the process, even of furnishing, like that's what I feel like I'm reminding people lately of. It's chaos those few days that you're furnishing, but it's actually like so fun, or it's fun to me, maybe not as fun to you because I'm directing and I'm doing what you're saying.
Where's Toby? I need Toby.
I need some backup.
But it is fun, and it can be fun and exciting. And then obviously, when you get the checks, you're like, this is just wild that I'm getting paid to do this. It's so cool. And then housing the families. I would love for you to even just touch base really quick about, well, you've only had one insurance family, but how was it housing them and coming from the situation that they were in, and opening a home up for them?
It's actually really gratifying, to be honest with you. Like, they moved into the home, and I, like they said, you give them a little something. Bless them because you're being blessed. And that's exactly what I did. I put a little gift basket together, and then I had just Walmart deliver some stuff to them. So I give them like fresh fruits and vegetables, and it just shows up on the door for them, so that they are there and they're ready to go. We had a mishap at the house. Nothing I could control. The garage door broke, like I didn't expect that to happen, and their car was trapped inside. Luckily, they work from home. But what did I do? It's part of the plan. Like, I sent them something and I said, here, I'm so sorry. I have somebody coming out to fix this. And they're like, oh, it's okay. We're totally fine, because they want to, or they want to thank us because they have this home that they get to live in, because their home is a complete disaster. And so the family that I just happened to be working with in my Roseville home, They moved in. They had some hiccups with insurance along the way. The person who's living there, he's great. His wife is great. Well, it became a full-on blessing for them to be in that particular home because there are no stairs. And the lady ended up having surgery while she was in our home. And their particular neighborhood does not have sidewalks, but mine does. So they were able to utilize the sidewalks in recovery and do lots of different things that they wouldn't have been able to do had they been in their home, especially because the water damage was so extensive in their home. And so they're just telling me all of these things about how grateful they are. And I'm thinking, I'm grateful for you. Are you kidding me? Like living in the home is just one of the things that I'm just providing. I'm providing a home, some fruits, some vegetables, like a little game, some spaghetti every now and then. I want to thank you for being there. Is there any way I can make you more comfortable? And they always respond with, oh my gosh, no, we are so happy. We're so blessed. And I'm like, well, we're both living in the blessed world right now because that's all I can feel too, which is really awesome. The funny thing is that the house is completely set up. They have everything they could ever need. And they asked me, hey, can we bring in our desk if we move the furniture over? I'm like, well, do you need me to come move the furniture? I'll come up there and move it. And they're like, no, it's totally fine. We'll just move it over if you're okay with that. I'm like, you can move the bed over. There's only 2 people living in a 4-bedroom home. And so they have 3 other bedrooms that are just sitting there that aren't being used. And so they just moved it over and put their desks in the spaces that they need. They're like, we'll move them back. And I'm like, it's okay. When I come up there, to check it all out, when you guys are ready to check out, I'm like, I'll move them back too. But they're super happy to be there. And that just warms my heart to make me let me know that they're doing well. And the same thing with the other house, the people who just moved in, when they got their gift basket, because they're moving from Pennsylvania to Texas, they came in and they're like, oh my gosh, that was so thoughtful. You didn't have to provide us with one, but we always put a game in there because to me, it's a little thing that the family can do together in a time where they're like, it's kind of crazy. They can be like, no, we're going to sit down and we're going to play this game and you can laugh and you can share it. And then there's always the first dinner. So they don't have to feel like they have to go find something. You always have pasta. I give them noodles, spaghetti sauce, and olive oil, butter, and then some sort of fruit or vegetable for them. And that's like when they get there, they can walk in and be like, I don't have to go find dinner. It's like here. She literally provided me with dinner. And they always send me a little note that tells me in all the houses that I've started setting up, they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. That was perfect. We needed that. I'm like, it was easy.
I love
Walmart sent it.
Right? That's awesome. I love it. Well, thanks, Sam, for sharing your story, yours and Toby's and your families. And it's been so fun just working with you guys. And you've been just as much an encouragement to us. And so it's been a blessing. Thanks for being a part of the Vetted Homes community.